Hey, hey, hey. Get the mic turned on. That'd be helpful. Good morning. It is 7 a.m., Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. And we're back at it. We are back at it. 10K to $2 million funding challenge. This is day number 8. I need to update my stats, in fact, while we're talking and saying hey to everybody. Let me get that going. Yesterday, ended up getting into a gold trade that did not work out in our favor. 81601. And man, it started off doing exactly what we wanted it to do. It moved away pretty rapidly. Let me pull it up. We'll go over that gold trade here. So yesterday, this is what we were watching. We actually were hoping to get in on the initial drop, but we were expecting more displacement off of here, get in here, and then watch it drop. But it didn't happen that way. Oh man, I gotta sneeze. I'm not feeling super great today, y'all. My throat, I told you yesterday my throat wasn't feeling good. I definitely have some kind of head cold stirring, and it's more than just allergies, and I don't feel super good. And my throat is not super good. My nose is getting stopped up. I got the sniffles. So I don't know how long we'll be able to stay on today. We'll stay on as long as I feel up to watching charts, I guess. But if you hear the sniffles, that's what it is. I'm not crying. Kind of wanted to yesterday. No, I didn't. Excuse me. Man, I don't know if the sneeze is going to come or not. Anyway, good morning, Michael. So yesterday, this is what we were watching. This breaker here, and then it came back up. It didn't get the displacement we wanted. Then after we got off of the stream, things started cooking. We get our displacement back below. We ran this high here, ran back up into that fair value gap, and then we displaced lower. So we took out that high, and the displaced. This was our breaker right here, and here was our fair value gap. And so that's what I called that out. Ended up coming down, and then it came back up, tapped us in right there, and then price started moving away just like we wanted it to. My break even line was just underneath this candle right here. I would have moved to break even. I had an alert set right there. And hey, Corey, welcome in. I had an alert set right there to move to break even on this gold trade, and you can see it. Look how close. As this candle closed, I was like, okay, well, surely we're going to come down, and at least, I mean, look at that aggressive wick right there. Like, we're going to come down. Even if it comes back up, it's going to at least come right there. Look how close that is. I was ready to move to break even, and then the very next candle, wham, does that business. Doesn't take out the low. I don't move to break even. And that sucked because y'all know, if you were following yesterday, it just ripped and slapped us right there. And that's, took the L. That happened in our phase 1 too. Our first loss did this same thing. It almost got to break even and then turned around and took us out. And it is just a loss. No big deal. We're only down 1 R on the account, which is 2%, but it's just 1 R. And we have 3 more days until our first payout. So we were watching and waiting, and hopefully we can find a winner between now and the end of the day Friday, and we'll get this thing back up into profits and get to that payout. So I'm not going to rush it. In fact, I was just looking at the charts. Golly, man. I don't feel great. Just my head doesn't feel right. Like something, I just like dizzy and kind of like sweaty. Hold on a second. I'm going to go turn the air down in this room. Get my ceiling fan going here. Give me just a second. I need to get some air flowing. All right, maybe that'll help. Just I just feel, when you don't feel good and you just kind of, it's like you're not sweating, but you feel like you're sweating. It's kind of that feeling. It's not comfortable. That's for sure. Anyway, you can see, man, we're just stuck on gold here. We're stuck inside this range. This is why we haven't found anything to trade. Nothing's trending, nothing's moving. Look at Euro. Here, let me pull up the daily chart on Euro and let me tell you exactly why these last 2 weeks are different than phase one and phase two. Here's phase one and phase two. You see this? Clear bias, clear trend. This is the candle we started our funded account on, right here. Does this look like it's trending? Does this look like you're getting good? What's it doing? It's just carving out and engineering liquidity. It's grab liquidity on the bottom, it's grab liquidity on the top, and now we're just right in the freaking middle. And these are difficult conditions to trade on when you're in a range like this. And it's just not ideal at all. Can you find good setups? Yes, you can. But when I trade a range, and I hesitate to say this because I don't want to confuse people, but when I trade a range, sometimes I will take less than 1 to 2. I will take profits often at 1.5 instead of 1 to 2 when we're in this less than ideal trading conditions. Your trade doesn't have to do as much work. If your bias is wrong, you can still capitalize and take some profits out of a range. When you're in a clear trend and you have a very clear bias and a very clear draw on liquidity levels, you can go for those. I go for those 1 to 2. So I'm not saying I'm going to go for a 1.5 from here on out until we get out of this, but I will watch. So like yesterday I would have probably, or I should have, when I saw that quick rejection right off of these levels, you'd already seen that liquidity had been run and it didn't necessarily need to go all the way back down here. I was hoping it was going to continue the downtrend, like this was a higher time frame consolidation. We had manipulation and then we would distribute lower and this would continue down. But it decided, nope, we still had more range to carve out. And now that we know we're in a range, it probably makes more sense to target a lower reward, but over 1. You have to go over 1. 1.5 is as low as I would go on a risk reward ratio. But when you're in a range, oftentimes 1.5, at least in my experience, is the more higher probability play, and you can still take some good profits out. And for our case, if we got a 1.5, we would be able to still be in profit by 1%. If we're risking 2 and we go for 1.5, that would be a 3% gain, and that would put us back. But I don't know what we're going to do today. We're just going to watch and wait. You can see we have clear draws on liquidity above us on gold. You do have that 30-minute fair value gap sitting just above here. It is just whipping around. Like London came all the way down and all the way back up. So what is it going to do now? I don't know. Looks like your draw on liquidity is to the buy side. Here on gold, we're just going to watch and wait. We have news at 8:30 this morning. Our balance of trade report comes out. So we'll be watching all of that to see. We won't take any positions until then. But so we've got an hour and 20 minutes or so to see what's going to go on there. Oh, man. Woo, swallowing is not fun right now. Feels like I've been swallowing glass shards in my throat all night. So that kind of sucks. So let's jump over to US 30 is just horrible. I mean, again, absolutely horrible. It took out yesterday's low, and it basically closed back where it opened from yesterday. I mean, it took out yesterday, took out Monday's low, and then just closed back up. It didn't move at all, and it's obviously stuck and just moving sideways. We're gonna have to wait until we get a clear draw on liquidity and we start seeing this thing trend out of this horrible, nasty range here. Gold, we're just gonna wait and watch for manipulation. There is obviously draws on liquidity above here, above all these relative equal highs, and a 30-minute fair value gap that it has yet to tap back into. So that could be where maybe gold pops up and then we get in a reversal. Kind of like we were expecting yesterday. It just hasn't played out yet. It did not take out that low yesterday, so there's also some liquidity down here. This is why I'm like, when you're in a range like this, you just need to watch where does it want to manipulate and then distribute to. And that's how you trade ranges. Watch for the manipulation, then watch for displacement away from the liquidity grab. Pound on the daily looks much like the euro. We were moving down very clearly. Now we've popped back into this range. We have relative equal highs up here. That would be your daily draw on liquidity. It's just taken out yesterday's high, it looked like, currently. So on the 4 hour, you can see we're just reaching back up into this sell side imbalance here. So potential, you have this. You do still have this this trend line down here that it's going to be retail. This is sell side liquidity under here. And you're reaching into the buy side liquidity right now. Relative equal highs here on the 4 hour. You're reaching up into them. So maybe here we get some manipulation to run lower. Or we're going to try to reach up into these relative equal highs up here. Maybe that's where it wants to go. We don't know, so we're just going to watch and wait. I don't have a firm, strong direction. The dollar is ugly as well. It's just bouncing around in range, high, low, high, back at the low. Does it want to come back to the high? So, there's obviously sell side liquidity underneath here. And that's what we're doing. Euro is not taken out yesterday's high or yesterday's low. It's currently trading inside of yesterday's range. We had Monday and then Tuesday took out the high and the low and closed bearish. And now we're currently bullish. We have sell side liquidity very clearly below us. We have yesterday's high as a draw on liquidity, and then you have last week's high as the buy side draw on liquidity. So we really just need to see a very clear run on liquidity, and then we need to see some displacement away from that and see if we can identify a good setup. Here you can see last night in London, we ran lows. We didn't reach all the way down and take out yesterday's low, but we did take out sell side liquidity. and then we reversed higher and displaced higher. So all of this run up is your 1 hour breaker. You ran up, took out sell side, and then displaced higher. So any move potentially back down into here could be seen as just a rebalance. You're going to get into optimal trade entry territory, back into a discount, into some fair value gaps that line up with that breaker, and then you could see higher prices. Of course, it could run up here, grab these, and then displace lower. So I don't have a super clear bias on what I'm expecting to happen, so I'm just going to watch and wait and see if anything catches my eye. And the fact that I'm not feeling so great today is not helpful either. I don't feel like I'm perfectly there, if that makes sense. But I think I can identify liquidity grabs and displacement. Those are pretty energetic into liquidity, energetic away from liquidity. That's our setup. That's what we're watching and waiting for. Michael says price is a bit unclear to me now. Is looking for downside on EU, but maybe with a slow news week, we're just going to seek and destroy mode, taking out lows and highs. We don't have anything on 15-minute to use as breaker here currently, so I'm thinking maybe a little consolidation here. Then take Tuesday's high and then use the consolidation as breaker. Possibly target relative equal lows, which is Tuesday low. But IDK, and I also IDK. Everybody's IDK right now because there's just not. These last 8 days have been just not clear. Like, you've had runs on liquidity on both sides, and you've had displacement away after grab. So it's definitely carving out and engineering more liquidity. It definitely is not showing you where the next trend is going to be. And so when you're trading ranges and you don't have a clear bias, you have two options. You either don't trade and wait for trends to form and a clear higher time frame bias to set up, or you lower your risk reward ratio and you're taking smaller moves at the extremes of the range, meaning when you see manipulation on one side of the range and displacement up, then you're trying to capitalize on the move from the bottom of the range up to the extreme or the middle or somewhere in there, but with just a lower RR. Or like here, you would see manipulation on the top of the range. For instance, you see manipulation here on the top of the range, you get your displacement, you had your fair value gap, and then you get your 1 to 2 or just trade back down to like 50% of the range. Here, you see you're at the bottom, you get displacement, and you try to target. This is ended up not being a great play, and then this is where we are currently. At the bottom of the range, we had overnight, this is the run on liquidity. So this move right here, this candle right here was the candle that we ran liquidity on, and then we displaced through higher. There's a fair value gap right there. It didn't come back down into it, but that would have been your breaker. And I don't know that I even would have called it that, because I would have probably wanted to see this 15-minute candle continue higher above and displace higher. But it did change structure. Like, it did have a market structure shift here after you ran liquidity. Even though it didn't continue aggressively to displace above there, you did get a structure shift with a fair value gap. This is an order block, a fair value gap nested inside of an order block. That is a valid trade setup. I haven't taken any of those on this challenge, but that is definitely a very clear change of structure, fair value gap nested inside of an order block. That's a beautiful trade. It just didn't come back down into it. That's the ICT 2022 model. Run liquidity, break structure, fair value gap, enter at the fair value gap, and target 50% or a fair value gap of the last big leg down over there. So you would have targeted that high initially, and that fair value gap above that high would be your target if you had gotten in there. And that's probably a 1 to 2 had it worked out. So, Michael, your analysis is pretty much exactly what I'm thinking here too. There's just not anything so far. You have run liquidity on the buy side, and you have relative equal lows now down here on the sell side. So do we get displacement back below here now that we've reached up into this fair value gap? We've completely filled that fair value gap in. But you also have buy side still resting up here and more other sell side imbalances above there that are above the 50% of the range that we're currently in. So again, we're just waiting, probably going to wait until this news comes out and see how that affects everything. But it's just not a super clear picture. The dollar obviously has a nice draw on liquidity to the downside here. You're still inside this dealing range with the dollar. We're stuck inside this dealing range. So we're basically back down into a discount level. If I pull a fib here, you can see where is my, here we go. All right. So it's backwards, but this is your green zone. If you're going to be long on the dollar, bullish dollar, you want it to get down here into the green. This is a discount. The red is a premium, right? We don't want to buy in a premium. We want to buy in a discount. So we're just right at that premium discount level. And you can see there's a nice clear imbalance here that it hasn't quite filled all the way back in. So maybe you get this manipulation down. But this is the dealing range you're stuck inside of. And overall, you have this bigger range that you're stuck inside of. We're in this box. We manipulated under it. We broke back into it. And so you can see this whole nastiness right here is the range that we're in. And there's just not a super clear bias. So yeah, light news week. Heavy news week next week, and so this whole week could just be setting up to engineer liquidity that gets manipulated next week heavily, and then we get a new direction for the rest of June heading into next week. But for now, we're just gonna watch, and I'm not gonna have any clear expectation on exactly what I want to see happen. Knowing I'm in a range, I'm gonna watch for manipulation and then displacement. That's what you're watching for. Manipulation into displacement. And then try to identify a fair value gap with an order block or a fair value gap inside of a breaker block that we can pull down at least a 1.5, maybe 1.2, 1 to 2 or 1.5, something like that. I would really love to be in profit when we come to our profit split, but it may not be, and that's fine. And I don't know how Bespoke handles profit splits. Like if you're not eligible for a profit on Sunday, let's say we don't take another trade this week and we get to our profit split, we're 2% in drawdown and we can't take a profit split. Do I have to wait another 14 days, or once I have moved back into profit, I can go ahead and take a profit split as soon as I'm back into a profit, and then the 14-day clock starts again after that profit split? I'm not exactly sure. I need to get in their Discord and ask them how that works. If you miss your first profit split, do you have to wait another 14 days? I don't know. Not really sure what's going on there. Hey, Beeswax, welcome in, man. I may have to pause here. I'm almost out of coffee. My throat does not feel good, and I may need to go get some more. The more I talk, the more it hurts. So, yeah, I must have, I got some kind of head cold bug or virus. Didn't test for COVID yet. I guess it could be that. I've had COVID 3 times. I had the OG COVID when the pandemic started. and then I got it. That was 2020. And then I got it. I got some variant in the spring of 2021. And then I got another variant in the spring of 2022. Now here we are in the spring of 2023, and maybe I've got it again. I don't know. Every time I've gotten it, it has been pretty insignificant symptom wise. The first one was probably the worst. Really bad headaches. Lost my smell and taste for a couple weeks. I did not that the bad fever, but it passed after about 8 or 9 days. All the symptoms, like I felt pretty much better. I didn't get my smell and taste back for a little while, but then the second time I had it, it just felt like I had allergies, bad allergy day, and then it feels very similar to what I have now. But I don't know. Maybe I should get tested. I don't know if COVID is still a thing anymore. If people are still getting freaked out by that. Hey, Xanax, not going great physically. Like everything's fine. I just don't feel good. So I mentioned yesterday that I woke up and I had this kind of like tickle in my throat and kind of that, that first little sign of like, ooh, maybe I'm getting a cold. And then it got a little bit worse yesterday. I felt decent when I went to bed last night. When I woke up this morning, it just felt like I've been swallowing shards of glass. So it does not feel good. Does not feel good right now. The pound dollar has already reached up into its buy side liquidity here. So we'll be watching now. Do we get displacement away from the pound dollar? We have this nice trend line here, higher time frame trend line that everyone is going to be, their sell side liquidity is under trend lines. So we're at the extreme range of this sideways action. We've now reached into buy side liquidity. You still have a lot of displacement from this move down that it could reach into. So it may not be done reaching up. It could make another pop higher, another dig higher here before we get any kind of displacement. But I would be looking and wanting to see, I guess, displacement away somehow, somewhere. Oh, sorry, y'all. This is what committing to live stream every day, Monday through Friday, for 6 months. You're gonna get the not so great physical days of whoever you're watching. So yeah, till this news hits, I don't know. We don't have much to look at and much to talk about. Just watching and waiting. You did just have this so interesting that London came in as the Asian Open. London Open dropped, didn't take out yesterday's low, and then ripped higher. And it's just been ripping all night. So here's your first draw on liquidity, and then you've got some more displacement up here. Dollar is much closer to its downside objective than euro is to its upside objective. So yesterday, that SMT with the dollar, remember when we had said yesterday, this didn't take out the high, but the euro took out the low. That's SMT. And you saw euro reverse and you saw dollar collapse pretty aggressively yesterday. So I don't really have much to do except to watch. Gold probably has the clearest range, and we're waiting for manipulation. I would like to see this buy side liquidity get run and tapped into this 30-minute fair value gap up here. I think, but I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's all it needed. It grabbed this liquidity, displaced. Now it's grabbed this liquidity. And what's it going to do? This is just very low probability conditions to be trying to find trades in. And the key to trading ranges, I'm not a super good range trader. But the key to trading ranges is to work off of the extremes of the range and target 50% of the move back into that range. But to do that, you've got to be down on the lower time frames, like on the 5-minute. You're going to watch for manipulation, displacement, and try to find a fair value gap that you can use to, after you've had manipulation, displacement, and then try to get back down to at least the 50% of that range. But until news, we got nothing. Yeah, Euro hit a 15-minute fair value gap. Yeah, but it's still got here. You still have a drawn liquidity here. And really, Xanax, when you're looking at Euro, you have to take into context that we're in this big range. We're only at 50% of the range right now. We're right in the middle of this overall range. So it's got other sell side imbalances to the left, and you have buy side liquidity resting above that swing high. So yes, it has reached that fair value gap. This was our breaker, by the way, this is an hourly breaker right here. This hourly candle ran up, displaced through, you have a fair value gap. So it could hold. This breaker and this fair value gap could hold. It's basically filled in that entire imbalance. So it could reverse from here and head back down for these relative equal lows now. But I don't know, and I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. So I'm just going to watch and wait. Don't be sorry. We genuinely appreciate your time. Well, thanks. I'm glad you guys are here watching. Thanks, Beeswax. I need to find some good homeopathic natural remedy to kick this out of my system, because I need it to go. Steven, at that fair value gap on 15-minute, we have a breaker and order block. Yep. That's the one that we identified on Monday that we were trying to trade off of, but price, we actually called that trade, but price never came back up and triggered us in. This is what we called Monday right here, this 15-minute fair value gap. We wanted price to come up into this fair value gap off of that breaker. We called that trade. Price did come back up. It just didn't get in to trigger us, and then it collapsed. So that is a breaker. That is a fair value gap. And it could hold. And we've already gotten our... I'm not going to use this right now. I'm more interested to see, now that we have run aggressively into buy side liquidity here, do we get displacement down? Here's the thing with ranges. You can identify multiple areas of turns where it could turn on either side. And that's why ranges are so dangerous, because it could turn here to come back down to an OTE into this breaker and not give you any entrance, only to use this breaker to run more buy side liquidity. So you do have this over here, and it might turn, but it could stop, and then you set your entry up here and you just get run, because it's not even at 50, and it wants to run into these levels. So I would rather work off of a low, but like pound, it's at the high. Like it's already run a very clear buy side liquidity. It does have more imbalances up here, but this major swing high has been run, and on euro, this major swing high has not been run inside the range. So if the pound dollar were to displace back here, then I would feel more comfortable going short and targeting some of these imbalances down here. But we have 55 minutes until the news comes out, and my guess is price is going to meander sideways here for the next 4 or 5 15-minute candles, and then we'll see what happens. I'm honestly tempted for a long trade off the 1 hour breaker if we don't take out Tuesday's high first. Yeah, could be. This 1 hour breaker is not bad. We got this right here. You've got, assuming this candle closes up here like it's going to, you've got a big fair value gap here, but you also have one here, and you have one even lower underneath it. So I would likely pulling an OTE off of that level. So there's your premium discount. So you would anticipate price coming at least back down to here. So you might want to target something like that. Doesn't have to get that deep, but that's a potential. That's what I think you're talking about, Michael. One hour breaker, you get a retrace. News dumps you back down, tags in these fair value gaps to run higher. So it could be. It could be. I want to retrace at the 15-minute fair value gap. Order block and breaker. Let's see. This is the 15-minute. You run lower, grab liquidity, you break higher, you get a change of structure, and you have a fair value gap here. You would be back into a big discount here. So you could take that fair value gap, put it below the low. 6 pips is kind of tight for me. I would probably make it just to give it a little bit more breathing room, would probably go to like 8. And then you've got your 1 to 2 right there. That is also not a bad plan of action there, y'all. So if you pull an OTE on that, you can see that lines up with an optimal trade entry area off of the London low to the current daily high. So any and all, if you're holding a bullish bias on euro, those are all good. You're all thinking in the right direction. But I don't really have a strong bias on any of this. So my plan is I'm waiting to see what kind of manipulation comes in at the news in about 50 minutes. And then what happens after that news hits. So just sitting and watching and waiting. Any other pairs you guys are watching this morning besides euro, pound, or gold that you want to pull up? Oh, gosh. Reminder, this on the euro, this was what we were looking at here. This was our Monday trade that ended up not getting triggered. We had that breaker, we had manipulation, distribution, breaker, fair value gap left inside. That was a really good setup. We called this trade Monday as this candle closed on Twitter. We called that. Price started running back up. We just wanted it to dip into that fair value gap. Never got that far. And then did what we were anticipating it to do. We just wanted it just didn't give us an entry. And now here we are back in that area, and it has been violated and disrespected. So it popped up and respected it, but currently this new 15-minute candle, unless it closes back inside that fair value gap and breaker. So you can see this candle, it did wick above it, but it closed back in. This candle wicked above it, closed back in. This candle is now pushing its way higher. And this could become now an inverted fair value gap to support price to run that buy side. So, but that is you could say that this is your breaker here. This push down, this big aggressive push down started with this candle. It ended here, and then we ran higher. But I would, because there were some up candles in between, I always go with the lowest consecutive down close candles on a bearish breaker. So it doesn't look like it's going to hold there. On the 30-minute, this is what I was saying. On a 30-minute, this would be your breaker on a 30, and this is your fair value gap on a 30-minute time frame. So the 15-minute might not be holding, but the 30-minute might. You don't know. I mean, you still have another 16 minutes on that 30-minute candle for it to play out, but that could be what holds price down to get a pullback into these OTE areas if we are indeed going to run higher. I'm just thinking about how you guys were thinking earlier, Steven and Michael. Y'all are both currently holding kind of that bullish bias, and so this could be what pushes this breaker, could push this back down. But with news coming out in 45 minutes, I would not be taking any entries at all. Wouldn't be wanting to do that. Looks like that 15-minute might actually hold. This is the 15-minute fair value gap here. And wicked above it, and it's going to close back inside that fair value gap and that breaker. Michael says, yeah, I'm thinking we take out Tuesday's high. Wait for pullback for the long if it's not taken out, and possibly wait for a short when it is taken out. I think that's kind of what I'm thinking too, Michael, is if, hey, Jack, good morning. If we don't take out Tuesday's high with the news and we get a pullback, then that pullback could be what sets us up to run Tuesday's high the rest later this New York session. If news takes out Tuesday's high, then we would look for displacement lower and try to target some of this sell side imbalance, inefficiencies, fair value gaps, whatever you like to call them. It's just so hard to I this is the part of trading that I probably get most frustrated with. And by most frustrated, I don't mean that it worries me. It's just I don't like these conditions. They're not I like to walk in and have a clear bias. Now, here's what ranges do give you. They give you clear draws on liquidity. So if you don't have a long-term bias, like long or short, bullish or bearish, if you don't have a long-term bias when you sit down, but you do have very clear draws on liquidity, which is what a range gives you. A range gives you very clear draws on liquidity. Then you wait for those draws on liquidity to get rated and then see if you get displacement, an energetic displacement in the opposite direction after that draw on liquidity has been rated. That's the only way that you can trade ranges. You don't want to be taking trades in the middle of a range. You're going to get chopped up. None of this existed when we took this trade. It wasn't a range, but we had manipulation and we had energetic displacement. And so we were expecting the downtrend on gold to continue. Then we found out, nope, we're actually not done carving out range. And that's why that trade lost. It had already grabbed liquidity. We entered, came back down. It didn't need to come back any lower because it wasn't done engineering all of this. Good morning, Ahmad. I'm dealing with a little bit of a head cold for those of you guys just jumping in. My throat does not feel good. I don't feel good. So if I'm a little less talkative, you'll have to forgive me. I will stay on as long as I kind of have the energy and feel okay to do so today. We're just watching to see where does price want to reach. Once this news hits in about 40 minutes now. 40 more minutes. And then we'll see if we get any kind of setup to participate in. If y'all have any questions, anything you want to discuss, any other pairs you want me to look at, feel free to throw that over in the chat. I'm happy to pull it up in front of everybody and tell you what I see. Did anybody watch ICT's live stream yesterday? I did not. I don't know what he went over. Watched it but didn't make it to the end. It was late for me. Was he actually trading live, or was he just... And by trading live, he doesn't trade live. He trades just paper trading demo, calls out stuff. But you know what I mean. Was he actually like calling moves, or was he just like teaching and ranting? Just talking. Went over Eurodollar. Really? Oh, that'd be good. Gaps on the weekly, daily chart for bias. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we've been doing. That's how we identified really this entire move down on Eurodollar were the gaps on the weekly, and the daily. We identified all of those as our draws on liquidity. So, and it played out exactly as we anticipated. And now that we've reached that objective, you can see consolidation. So he mentioned something about departing in November. I assume he's not put. Yeah, I think what he said is after November, he doesn't trade in December anyway. So after November, he said he's getting off YouTube and disappearing, and he's leaving everything from 2022 and 2023. That's going to be his parting gift to the trading community. And so he's given out all of his course material for free. He's given out his YouTube 2022 mentorship videos, and 2023 was supposed to be his live executions, where he's calling and moves in real time so you can actually see how it plays out live. So I think he's going to be doing more of that until November, and then supposedly he's going to disappear. Price should hold the middle of the daily fair value gap we were in if we're getting more downside. Price should hold the middle of the daily fair value gap. This fair value gap? Is this the one he was talking about in between here and here? It should hold the middle. Is that, Michael, do you remember? Is that the one he's talking about? That's the one he noted. That's the one we were in right here. I'm assuming that's what he was talking about. There's no fair value gaps over here. There's a small fair value gap way up here back from the middle of May. That hasn't been tested, but it tapped the high of it during Asia. Yeah. Yeah, this, if we just mark that out right here, that's the lower end of the daily fair value gap. It tapped it in Asia, went lower, and now we've not held it. So that breaker's holding kind of nicely though. Gosh, sorry y'all. This is the trade we called Monday right here. It didn't get tapped back in. Now it's come back up. That breaker and fair value gap are holding. It's respecting all of that. And perhaps this at news, we got about a couple minutes for this hour to close. This hourly candle is going to close having reached up, filled in this hourly imbalance, and tapped into this hourly order block and pulling back. Your discount is going to be somewhere down in this area here. You've got an hourly breaker with fair value gaps. You also have a 15-minute on a lower time frame. But you could just as well continue after news hits to run liquidity and then come back down, or you could see news drop down into here and then we'll have to watch and wait. I like that pound has already run liquidity. There's no more liquidity. Like there's no swing highs, I guess I should say. There's still liquidity it can tap into in these imbalances, but the swing highs have all been run here on the pound dollar so far. So when the news hits, if you do get displacement lower, it's just climbing. You could get, if we get another pop up and then a drop, I would be interested to see if this sell side is a target. And gold, of course, these relative equal highs up here, I would like to see that manipulated. One way or the other. Just usually says GJ looks good for buys. Well, let's pop over and take a look, shall we? Took out yesterday's low, reversed, left yesterday's low in place. It's got relative equal lows down here. Reaching for buy side liquidity that we noted yesterday. You have an order block up here, and then you've got more drawn liquidity above you. 1 hour, you've run displaced. You have a 1 hour order breaker block here. This moved down. It didn't really take out any good lows here, but you could probably see on the 15 minute, took out the lows, reversed. Here's your breaker. Here's your fair value gap. It didn't come back down and has since run higher. I would want to see what happens after it runs this buy side liquidity, because you have sell side below, you have relative equal lows below, relative equal highs now above. I wouldn't be getting into any position just yet, because you're inside of this overall range, so you want to see some manipulation on one side or the other, and then do you see displacement away from that? So I'm not this area here is where I would have wanted to buy this run up. Manipulation off of these lows, displacement back through, fair value gap. I would have wanted it to come back down into this level before it ran up, but it didn't ever give that entry there. And so I'm not saying it's not good for buys. If you're bullish, I just don't see, other than just trading a order block, like expecting these bearish candles to hold. So when price comes back down, taking an entry just off of an order block, that's a valid trade entry if that's your system. I would want to see it. This is the order block I think that would probably be more likely to hold. Run that sell side liquidity under these relative equal lows, tap into that fair value gap, into that order block, and then run higher. So, but that's on the 30-minute time frame. So on the 15, again, you can see relative equal lows here. I would want to see it, if I'm looking for buys, I would want to see a pullback under these lows, grab liquidity into this order block and move higher. But with all of this buy side liquidity here, I would wait to see, do you get manipulation and then displacement back below to take out these relative equal lows down here. That's how I kind of see GJ. No wicks on that order block. Yeah, right here. No wicks left behind, and we know that we don't like to see that, or the market doesn't like to see that. The market wants to get those wicks in there. So if I'm looking for buys, I would want to see manipulation under some lows and into some fair value gaps. But sorry, y'all. All right, we're into our new hour here. We've got about, let's see, we've got about 25 minutes until our trade balance reports comes out. We'll see what kind of effect the news has. Gold's giving you, it's reaching back down into these imbalances. Perhaps it just wants to creep, and then when the news hits, use this optimal trade entry to target taking out buy side liquidity. or news hits, takes out buy side, and then rips lower. We don't know. We're just watching. Dollar still just not doing a whole lot. Pound not doing much. Euro hour opens climbing back up into that breaker block. So we're just waiting. Oh gosh. Maybe a short day after this news hits for me, y'all. I don't know. Make sure you hit that like button on the stream. I would appreciate it. I mean, very likely the news has no impact. You're right, Stephen. I mean, it's not. I don't remember the last time a trade balance report has created a massive amount of volatility. And with all of the news, red folder news next week, which is economic calendar. Let me pull that up here. Let me go to next week here. Let me see. Apply. So, well, I thought I click apply. Oh, there we go. Okay, Monday. You've got your, they're going to be auctioning off all of the debt that they just got authorized to sell. So your 6 month, 3 month, 10-year. Tuesday, pound has unemployment rates, claimant counts. Euro has consumer prices on Tuesday. Consumer price index, so inflation numbers coming out for the dollar on Tuesday. Pound has GDP Wednesday, manufacturing production. Next week on Wednesday is the Fed interest rate decision. So you want to talk about, it could just consolidate Monday and Tuesday as everybody just, this whole thing is just going to wind up between now and next Tuesday until that Fed interest rate decision hits. Economic projections, interest rate projections, the FOMC press conference, that's all Wednesday afternoon, I think. So, yeah, we'll see what happens on Wednesday. Probably won't be taking any trades Wednesday. Thursday, gosh. Thursday, Euro has its monetary policy decision and its ECB rate, its interest rate decision. That's Thursday. Thursday also, you have jobless claims, retail sales for the dollar. And then Friday, Michigan consumer sentiment coming out. So there's something almost every single day next week on the dollar, which which means likely all of this range continues for the rest of this week. Be good, Steven. Thanks for hanging out, man. I don't know how much longer we'll be here, but you're welcome to come check it back out if you've got to step out for a minute. We've got about 20 more minutes until the news does hit and that's probably our best chance to see any manipulation on price today. This breaker is holding up, and fair value gap's holding up nicely, but the news could just destroy that. Gold is just slowly dropping back down into these imbalances here. And I'm wondering if it's going to use this news to run that liquidity after rebalancing some of these buy-side inefficiencies. I've been thinking about making some longer form videos to put on my YouTube channel that kind of talk through a little bit more of the strategy that we use here and some psychology stuff, prop firm stuff, but I didn't know, would y'all even want to watch that? If I put it up, would it be helpful? Because I've just been doing streams and shorts to recap the funding challenge that we're doing. Risk management, I mean, it's stuff that you can find on so many other people's channels, and that's why I'm like, I don't want to just make my version of what's already out there that's so easy to find. That's why I've kind of hesitated putting that stuff up and spending time making videos like that. But if you guys think there might be some value in there, maybe I'll work on a couple. I don't want to do it just to do it, because I'm not really this stream and updating on how the challenge is going is kind of the main. That's really why I wanted to do all of this. And then once either I hit 2 million in funding by the end of this year, or I get close, or wherever it is I'm at by the end of this year, maybe I just stop after that. I just disappear. Me and ICT ride off into the sunset together. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Overall, somebody asked me the other day about my stats since starting phase 1. We had 10 trades between phase 1 and phase 2. And we've had 4 trades, 4 trades now in our funded account. So that's 14 trades overall. We've had 5 winners, and we've had 4 losers, and we've had 4 break-evens. So we are, if you take out the break-evens, we are above 50% win rate, which is right in line with my overall long-term statistics on my win rate for this specific system. So this is why I was saying, if you guys were here watching phase 1 and phase 2, and we won 4 in a row, basically, after we took our loss our one loss, we won 4 in a row, and I was like, do not get used to this. This is not. That was a good run, and I'm super glad it happened to get us quickly through phase 1 and phase 2, but that is not normal. And now we've had basically 3 losses in a row. We had the 1 win and the 1 loss were basically on the same day, but we basically had 3 losses in a row, and we're only down 2%. Again, the beauty of 1-to-2 risk reward ratio, it's the beauty of probabilities, knowing what your win rate is, and taking high probability setups. I know that I'm going to be just over a 50% win rate long term. And that's why I don't let a trade like yesterday upset me. I don't worry that I've taken 2 losses in a row, because I know in my system, just like 2 weeks ago, I took 4 wins in a row. I could take 4 wins in a row the next 4 trades I take. That's how this system works. So I don't freak out that I'm 2% in drawdown right now. It doesn't bother me. It's only 1 R. I think in terms of percentage gains and loss and risk reward ratio. So I'm down 1 R. After 4 trades, I'm down 1 R. That's great. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that. That's a great place to be, down 1 R. Until I'm down like 4 R, until I'm down around 8% in drawdown, I'm not going to get really too worried or nervous or change my percentage risk. And that would be quite a losing streak for me to get that far down. All right, we've got about 15 minutes here. Actually, about 12 minutes. I need to change my clock up there. It's slow. My New York clock up there is slow. It's a couple minutes behind. It's the old classic, like actual, like hand spinning numbers and stuff, all that, whatever it's called. Hand minutes, hours, seconds. That's what I should have said. But it's a little bit off. Compared, all the other ones are lined up in New York. The New York one, I've got Houston, New York, London, Tokyo. Oh man, my throat is on fire. Every time I swallow, it's like, ugh. Not good. I need to rest today. I might have to I don't know why it is. I'm not a big video game player, but when I don't feel good, when I'm sick, I just have this itch to game a little bit. So maybe I'll game. I've got MLB The Show 2023 that I haven't played in like a month or so on Xbox. I've got a couple. I play the career mode where you basically build a player and then you take him from draft to through minor leagues to the pros. I haven't played that in a while. But I love strategy games. I love the classic Civ games, like Civilization, Civ 5, Civ 6. I love playing those where you got to like start in like the Stone Age as somebody and build up your entire civilization and try to take over the world and beat the other AIs. Civ is awesome, man. I used to watch a guy stream on Twitch that played Civ. I can't remember his name, but Tropico. Yeah, I haven't gotten into Tropico, but I've heard good things about Tropico. Maybe I'll download that and check it out. I do like the big open world map games too, like Fallout. Oh my gosh, Fallout's probably my favorite all time. The whole Fallout franchise, except Fallout 76, sucks ass. Don't play Fallout 76. That's trash. They're supposed to be building a Fallout 5 uh, that's coming out in I think either late 2024 or 2025. I think Bethesda put something out that said they're putting out a new Fallout, but um, Fallout is so good. Gold, just chopping. Not much happening here. Pound isn't really doing anything. Euro as well, holding up underneath that breaker and fair value gap. We've got 9 minutes here, 8 minutes or so. Yeah, I tried Fallout 76 also, same Xanax. It just did not. They tried and they failed. They messed with a formula and they saw everybody else doing online multiplayer, stuff, and just did not go well. Thankfully, they're returning back to Fallout 5. They're putting together a whole new story, whatever. My brain's not working. Outlast Trials. I have never heard of that. What is that like a? Is that like a survivor game like Battle Royale, Fortnite, or something like that? I like the games where you can kind of build your like the Elder Scrolls, even where you can just build out your characters, and you can try different builds and then go in and play the game. Those are the ones I'm more drawn to. I hear my dogs stirring upstairs. You know what that means? They're probably going to be coming down right when the news hits. To have to go out. Maybe they'll come down before here in the next minute or so. Yeah, I'm going to let my dogs out here real quick, guys. I'll be right back. All right. No, I knew it was off. I uh, I was just watching them out the window while my cam was off. I was just checking stuff, making sure I didn't miss anything. Hoping they could do what they needed to do outside before all this hit. Although the way I feel forgetting to turn the camera back on right now, very real possibility. Gold's now rebalanced. That almost rebalanced that fair value gap here. Very clear sell side liquidity draw, very clear buy side liquidity draw, and just waiting. Dollar has much to rebalance. Pound has a lot to rebalance. Euro has a lot to rebalance. So we're just waiting. We got about 2.5 minutes here. I have golden doodles. 2 golden doodles. Remy and Maggie. Hold on a second. Thank you, love. Woo, that's hot. She does not want to be on camera. It is true. She's bringing me some more hot coffee for my throat. All right, y'all, we're coming in here. We got a minute and 40 seconds, 39, 38. Probably about a 10-second delay on the stream for you guys, but that is where we're at and what we're watching. We're going to see if we get any kind of displacement. On pound, I'd be interested to see if we get displacement lower, and then where are the imbalances that result from that, if any. We may not get any. This may just be a whole big mess of nothing. That breaker, nice reaction off of that breaker. Got about 35 seconds. My goodness. Green tea with ginger and honey. Yeah. I do like some hot tea with honey in it. I'm not a big green tea fan, but just regular, just good tea, a hot tea with some honey, definitely is a good throat coat when you have a sore throat. All right, here we go. About 10 seconds here. We'll see what kind of volatility comes in. See if we get any moves. We do have our hour breaker. We have our 15-minute fair value gap here. We've had our new 30-minute candle just open. News is a little bit better than expected. Slightly. A lower negative number is better than a higher negative number, I would assume. Dollar, not much happening anywhere off of that news release currently. So that is a big wah, wah. All that anticipation. An hour and a half of talking, waiting. Give us something. And what did it give us? which is right in line with what we kind of anticipated this week, at least for the remainder of this week, probably. We know all of the big news is next week, and so it's just going to engineer liquidity here. So that it can manipulate that next week and probably send us off in one direction or another for the rest of June. So we're just an inside day. We haven't taken out yesterday's low. We haven't taken out yesterday's high. So this is just currently very slow inside day. Nothing really happening there. And quite frankly, I would be okay with it staying like that and not having any trade set up today and just letting me feel bad and recover. So I never looked at you said Outlast Trials. Horror game where you can team up with people and try to escape levels, completing objectives with multiple killers in the map. I mean, that sounds kind of cool. Again, I'm not a huge gamer. I'm almost 50 years old, man. 50-year-olds are not supposed to be gamers. Golly. I'm sorry, y'all. I keep clearing my throat and coughing, and it's not getting any better. I'm going to take off that ugly reminder of what happened yesterday. Pound, you know, we've had nothing happening. Euro, what's happening here? Little retrace, little pullback. I'll tell you what, I will stay on for 30 more minutes. I don't anticipate anything else happening, but I'll be here with you guys for, we'll make it a good full 2 hours. I think I can last another 30 minutes, and then I'm just going to chill out, see if I can kick this, whatever it is happening inside in here. Anybody ever done honey? Like soak, and this is just something I saw. I have never heard of this before. It's a homeopathic remedy. I think I saw it on TikTok or a short, reel. I don't know what it was. But it was this guy. Evidently, his whole channel is about homeopathic remedies. But he was like, if you ever get a sore throat or a head cold, take some onion, like cut up an onion into like rings, not like a whole onion, but cut it up into like rings. You know what I'm talking about. Put it in like a mason jar, cover those onions in honey, let it sit for 12 hours, and the honey pulls out, I don't know, some kind of stuff out of the onion, and it all rises to the top. And then you take a teaspoon, like a couple teaspoons a day, and it's supposed to knock out like sore throat and head cold stuff. I've never heard of that before in my life. I don't know why I'm asking chat. I literally have the internet right in front of me. Let me look at this. Honey and onion cough syrup. Wow, it's like a thing. Honey, onion cough syrup. Natural cough syrup, adding honey to onion juices, sweetens the honey. That is crazy. I've never heard of that before. Let me pull this up here so you guys see what I'm talking about. I mean, not that you care, but it's my stream. Look at this. Benefits of onion soaked in honey. Honey is antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and a powerful antioxidant. Knew that. Honey soothes a sore throat and tired throat. I knew that. Onion contains the antioxidant, whatever that is, big word, which fights inflammation in the body. Onion is high in sulfur compounds, as is garlic, which has been shown to help with a variety of health issues. And then you have all of these that's nuts. Safe, effective, tasty cough cure that even your kids will love. The syrup is soothing for the irritated throat, antibacterial, antiviral qualities, thins the mucus. I mean, maybe I need to try some honey and onion. Sulfur compounds stimulate white blood cell production. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a thing. One big onion. Place your onion into a jar or bowl. Add honey, mix well, cover. Let it sit for 30 to 60 minutes. Press down with a spoon. Get all the juice. Take a teaspoon every couple hours. I mean, well, there you go. I guess it's a thing. Maybe I'll try it when I get off of here. I'll let you know how it goes tomorrow. Honey and onion. I don't even know if I have an onion. I may have to go get an onion. I don't know. I can't remember. It was just random. I don't even know why it came up on my For You page. You know, I guess it heard that I was sick because your phone listens to you 24 hours a day. I'd have to go back. It's the only time I've ever seen the guy. I saw it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I just, swipe. So I don't know. He's an old guy, white beard. You know, it's one of those dudes that you're like, that guy looks like he's really smart. He's been living out on his homestead for 30 years. Doesn't go to the doctors, that kind of guy. Look, I'm all for doctors. I love doctors. I think it is a common gift of grace that God has given us technology and doctors to improve our lives. But I also think that for hundreds of years, if not thousands, we didn't have modern medicine, and people figured out, oh, there are all of these plants that God has given us contain all of these wonderful different things that fix us and make us better as well. So I'm not for or against either one. I think you can use both. That's my opinion. If there's modern medicine that does it better and faster, then use that. But modern medicine also has a lot of side effects that a lot of natural remedies do not. All right, well, we're getting just a slow drop here off of that news event. Dollar's rallying a little bit. I'll be interested to see when the dollar comes up into this big order block here, how it responds. We're moving back down. US 30's done nothing since its opening at 8:30. Again, if you recall, we had pulled a OTE and a premium discount off of today's high from London's low. So there's your OTE, which lines up with that fair value gap down here. But the way price is moving so slowly as we enter our New York session, what are the chances? You have to think in probabilities. You can see the way price moved in London very aggressively, but in New York so far, is it very likely that in the next 2.5 hours you're going to see a strong dive down to take out liquidity and then get strong displacement back up? I don't know. Your 1 hour order block breaker. This is your 1 hour breaker. It's reaching into that breaker, the top of that breaker wick right now. It's reaching back down into this big buy side imbalance. The other thing that had identified here on the euro was a premium discount level. So we would want to not be buying euro until it was in a discount. On the 15-minute time frame, you don't really have any down close candles before it ran this buy side. This would be your 15-minute breaker that got you an aggressive run up into this buy side liquidity. You would have to see displacement below here. And because we're in a range, and because that would be in a more line up with taking a buy here, I wouldn't take it. So it's just pretty crappy. It's just pretty crappy. Your 30-minute breaker is right here. You have two 30-minute candles right here. Run up, aggressive move down, displacement through. There's no really good fair value gap inside of here, but it is in a discount, and you do have your 15-minute fair value gap on a lower time frame lining up with your OTE level here. But the news didn't give us a rush down. You can see it's just a slow decline currently. Pound is giving us a much stronger reaction here, at least on the 5-minute time frame. You're getting a break of structure with displacement. Gold, not much of anything. Euro, you did have a break of structure here. Fair value gap left behind. But again, I don't want to buy unless it gets back down into here. I'm not really interested in any kind of a buy on euro right now. I would be more interested in a pound sell than anything. But for me, I would need to see a shift of structure on the 15-minute time frame, which for me would be displacement below here, and ideally even below that level. Just because you get a shift of structure on the 5-minute, you need to be aware of what's happening on the higher time frames here. You did get a run on liquidity on the pound. I would want to see a clear shift of structure on the 15-minute time frame. ICT has a Twitter live stream on right now. Why are y'all still here? Go watch the GOAT. Go listen to the GOAT. I'm like, dude, this is the thing about him. It's like, why not just get on YouTube? Why are you on Twitter just talking people through? It's so much more confusing. It's so much more confusing. Like, just get on YouTube and stream it. Why do you have to be cryptic and make it more difficult for people to follow along with you? Unless you're just on a Twitter space talking. If he's just talking and kind of ranting and teaching philosophy and theory and mindset and psychology, cool, great. Twitter spaces is great for that. But just stream it. If you actually are going to call, just show people on your chart what's happening. Oh, somebody else's ICT stream. Okay. Well, even still, even if it was him, he has done live streams. He has done Twitter Spaces where he's called moves. See that 1 minute fair value gap at 1058 over on your ES and line that up with your NAS. Now switch back over, and you can't see it. You're just having to listen to him talk it through. It's like, how's that helpful? You're causing more confusion and stress for people instead of just getting on and letting them watch. Look over your shoulder at your charts while you're doing it. Again, that's why I was doing this. I am not the GOAT trader, but I am funded, and I've failed over 30 challenges before I figured out what the hell I was doing. So I know how you feel. All of you that are failing challenges, I know how you feel. I know the frustration, and I know what I did was doing wrong and how to fix it, and how I did fix it. Yeah, so, you know, if Euro's going to continue down lower, I would want to see how price reacts off of this little fair value gap on the 15 minute. And it didn't really reach. This is also a 5 minute. It didn't really reach back up in there. So all right, I'm gonna stay on for about 10 more minutes, guys, and we'll get off for today. You can follow over on Twitter. I doubt we're gonna get any kind of setup today, but I'll set alerts on the what I would do if I were you, if you think something's going to happen, I would set an alert on the buy side and the sell side, and if price runs it, you can get back on your charts and then watch to see if there's displacement in the opposite direction of the liquidity grab. So that's how I kind of monitor ranges, is I just set alerts on the extreme ends of the range, wait for a liquidity grab, and then tune in to see if there's displacement in the opposite direction. Pound, we've already had that liquidity grab run, but we have not had an aggressive, like we would need to see a big candle. Like this is a big energetic move, right? We haven't seen a big energetic move. It's trickled up and it's trickled back down, and now it's just kind of doing nothing. Euro on the 15 minute, it's reaching back up now close to that fair value gap. I would like to see, if we're going to remain bearish here, you would want to see price reject that fair value gap and run for a new low and displace below that low. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Ugh. Nice to see our breaker, though, that we identified Monday. As price return to it, completely respect it and reject off of it. It may not have given us a 1 to 2, but it did hold. And that's how powerful these strategies are. Like it's not just support and resistance. Price reacts at specific price levels for a reason. Looks like we're going to have an inside day here on trading for the euro dollar. Pound took out its high and has moved back into it. Dollar came back up, almost got to that hourly order block. All of these candles together form an hourly order block. Yeah. Euro dollar reaching back up into that fair value gap. Again, I would anticipate this 15-minute order block and this fair value gap to be respected. If euro is going to run lower here, you would expect that to hold and create a swing, a lower high, a swing level right here, to then displace back below that swing level into some of these areas down here. If it displaces higher off of here, and you were anticipating a run on yesterday's high up here as a draw on liquidity, then you would want to see price displace above this level here. And then this would be your, you could use this as a 5-minute breaker. Displace above, create a fair value gap, come back to it, and then target yesterday's high. It's currently holding that fair value gap there. Reached right back into it. Almost got to halfway of that. Got close to it. But there's nothing else going on. Is just a very slow day. The move was in London. In the last few days, the London session has been the moving session. All this week, it seems, the big moves were London, and New York just meandered. And it appears that could be the same for today. The news really had no impact at all. Trade balance numbers basically hit expectations, and it didn't. We received no volatility to one side or the other. When you look at the 15-minute time frame, you've had no break of structure. You're getting a pullback now on the dollar, but you've had no break of structure to signal that we want to manipulate and displace back towards sell side liquidity. Gold, we had no manipulation of either side after the news, and now it's just moving sideways. Euro, we had a slight pullback, and now we are getting a move back up. And again, if you do want to target yesterday's high as a draw on liquidity for today, you would want to see displacement above this level right here. and leave behind a fair value gap that you could target. So you would want to see a candle, do this and then do this. And you would want to target something down in here. Potentially like that. To target yesterday's high. That's kind of what you would want to see on Euro. If you were not getting back down into here, we did take out some sell side liquidity that had built up. So if we get a continued energetic displacement higher, you would anticipate the dollar wanting to take out these lows here as well. That would line up with the euro moving higher. Sorry. Steven said he caught a nice trade on gold on the London session. Unfortunately, it was a demo trade. Nothing unfortunate about that. You spotted it, you took it, you executed it. Whether you obtained any real monetary value from it is beside the point. When you're talking about learning how to be a trader and identifying high probability moves, good for you. The money will come. Again, I'm just kind of waiting to see if we get this hour candle is about to close. It's closing slightly bullish. You had a push down to rebalance some of this. Came back into this, almost into this hourly breaker right here. Didn't quite get down to it, but rejected pretty heavily. And so now we're waiting to see, do we get some kind of displacement above this short-term high after grabbing some sell-side liquidity here on these lower time frames? The other reason, and you can see we're inside of this fair value gap and this breaker block. And if you were to get displacement and a close above that, leaving behind a fair value gap, then you would expect these to become inverted fair value gaps and act as support. Here they're acting as resistance. And fair value gaps can invert if you get a violation of them and a close above them. They can act as support then. They can turn and send price higher once they're violated as they come back into them. So we just had the 9 o'clock hour open up here. I'm going to take these candles off, or these little boxes off, so I'm not confusing anybody. But that was what I was looking for, and that's what I'm anticipating to see happen. Do we get displacement higher and potentially get a target yesterday's high? And just get a continuation of the London move up overnight. For pound, I would want to see it displace above this level here. Here was your draw on liquidity, and so this would be your breaker here, not this. This is below where the liquidity level was. So I'd want to see this move up initiated this run down. This move started up here. There's my crazy dogs. Let me mute that for a second. I think I fixed that, Steven, actually. I had somebody else message me who follows me that knows me personally, and they texted me and they were like, hey, you gotta fix that in your settings. I went into my settings and made it so that anyone can DM me now. You don't have to, I don't have to be, so typically you can only DM someone. The default is you can only direct message people that are following each other. So if I'm not following you on Twitter, that doesn't show up. But I went in and changed that setting so that now anyone can send me a DM even if I'm not following you back. So you should be able to hit me up over there on Twitter if you want. And I'm happy to engage with anybody that has questions or wants some more private time, private opinions on different things that you don't want to put here on chat for whatever reason. I'm happy to answer that. Maybe eventually we'll just start a Discord. I know that was brought up, I think maybe last week or whatever. But there's just not enough people currently to really justify, I think, setting that up, maybe. Like, I think we're averaging around between 8, I think we get up to maybe 12, 13 viewers at any one time. And I know that's different people popping in and out, so it could be larger than 8. It could be 20 people that are popping in here every day. I don't know. But to me, if we had, like 30, 40 people that would be in there and be active, maybe that would be worth it. But for now, just DM me on Twitter. I don't know how much you guys would want to interact with each other off of the stream anyway. So we didn't get any follow through displacement on that. And we've moved, and that fair value gap is acting as some continued resistance. Same on the pound, ran back up, and now we've had a run back. So if we get displacement below this low now, and it could just do this all day today for the rest of New York, which I'm inclined more and more to believe that that's probably what's going to happen. And probably Thursday and Friday too. Just a blah, a whole lot of blah. We're moving back up now. We got down to like the bottom 75% of this range, and it's moved back up to about 50% of the range on gold. Dollar has a very clear draw on liquidity under here that it's left in place from London. So I'm inclined to think that the dollar is going to want to reach for that low, which would also correlate with the euro dollar wanting to reach higher, and the pound dollar. So maybe you get a drop in here to grab liquidity as you move into the 9:30 New York Stock Exchange open. Maybe the dollar drops or pushes up higher one more time, gives you an opportunity to grab some of these relative equal lows, fill in this imbalance, and then you come up. but you didn't get any follow through displacement. You would have wanted to see this candle close bullish, and then the next candle create a fair value gap and dive back in. Did not do that. All right. I've kind of run out of fuel here for you guys today. I'm going to go see about finding some honey and some onion, I think. And I'll report back tomorrow on how that goes. But for now, do not force a trade today. These are not high probability conditions. I hope you can see that. Don't just jump in to be in the market. This is not going to be, it's not going to turn out well. You could get lucky and you might find a winner, but just wait. The market's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. It'll all be here tomorrow and the next day and all next week. So just keep your powder dry and save your bullet for a better opportunity. If something happens to come up, I'm going to set some alerts at different levels. And if something triggers, before in the next 2 hours, I'll be sure to post it on Twitter. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day for today. So you guys be safe, good hunting, and we'll check back in tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. New York time. Y'all have a good one.